If you've ever heard words like CPU, RAM, hard drive, or graphics card, and felt like you sort of understand them, but not enough to explain them clearly, you're definitely not alone. Most people use computers every day. They work on them, they study on them, they watch movies, browse the internet, and play games. But when someone asks what actually makes a computer work, things suddenly feel unclear. By the end of this video, you'll understand what the main parts inside a computer actually do, what role each one plays, and why they matter for everyday use. No technical background needed, no confusing language. Just a calm explanation that finally makes everything connect. At the most basic level, a computer is not a single smart object doing everything by itself. It's more like a small team. Each part has a specific role. Each part depends on the others, and they are constantly working together every second your computer is on. When one part struggles, you feel it. Things slow down, programs hesitate, the whole experience changes. So instead of seeing a computer as one machine, it helps to see it as a system where every part plays its own part quietly in the background. Let's begin with the outer shell. Every computer has some kind of physical box around it. This outer box doesn't process data. It doesn't store your files. It doesn't decide how fast your computer feels. Its job is simple but important. It holds everything together and protects the parts inside. Think of it like a suitcase. The suitcase doesn't create the clothes, but without it, everything would be exposed, damaged, or hard to carry. For a normal user, this outer shell affects more than just appearance. It affects size, noise, airflow. Some computers are small and quiet, perfect for desks or small spaces. Others are larger, with more room for air to move, which helps parts stay cool and last longer. Even though you rarely think about it, everything starts here. Now, inside that box, nothing works without electricity. That's where the power supply comes in. This is the part that takes power from the wall and safely sends it to every other component. Without it, the computer is completely lifeless. You could press the power button again and again, and nothing would happen. A helpful way to think about this is like the electrical system in a building. Lights, devices, and appliances all depend on it, even though you don't actively think about it every day. For everyday users, this part matters because it keeps everything stable. A good power supply means your computer turns on reliably, runs without random shutdowns, and stays safe during daily use. When it's working properly, you don't notice it at all, and that's a good thing. Inside the computer, there is a large flat board where everything connects. This is where all the parts come together. Imagine a city. Different buildings serve different purposes, but roads connect them all. That's what the motherboard does. It allows information to move from one part to another. It doesn't do the heavy thinking itself, but without it, nothing can communicate. For a normal user, this part quietly decides what your computer can support, how much memory it can handle, what kind of storage can be used, what connections are available. You never interact with it directly, but it acts like the backbone of the entire system. Now let's talk about the part people hear about most often, the CPU. This is where thinking happens. Whenever you open a program, click a button, type a message, or scroll through a page, the CPU is involved. A simple way to imagine it is like a worker following instructions. The computer gives instructions and the CPU carries them out. The faster and more capable this worker is, the quicker tasks get done. For everyday users, this affects how responsive the computer feels. If the CPU is strong, things feel smooth and immediate. If it's weaker, you notice delays, pauses, and moments where the computer seems to hesitate. Almost everything that happens on your computer passes through this part in some way, which is why it plays such a central role. Now let's move to something many people hear about but often misunderstand. RAM. This is short-term working memory. It holds information your computer needs right now, not later, not tomorrow, right now. Think of it like a workspace. If you have a large desk, you can spread out papers, tools, and notes comfortably. If your desk is small, you constantly have to move things around just to keep working. For everyday users, this matters most when multitasking. More RAM means you can open many tabs, switch between programs smoothly, and keep things running without slowdown. If there isn't enough, the computer feels overwhelmed. Things take longer not because anything is broken, but because there isn't enough space to work efficiently. When the computer turns off, this memory clears completely. That's normal. It's designed for speed, not for saving files. Now let's talk about where your files actually live. This is long-term storage. Photos, videos, documents, programs, everything you save ends up here. A simple way to think about it is like a storage closet or filing cabinet. You may not need everything at once, but you want it available when you do. For a normal user, this part affects two main things. First, how much you can store. Second, how fast things load. When your computer starts up or when you open a program, it pulls information from storage. Faster storage means less waiting. Slower storage means more loading screens. That's why two computers that look very similar on the outside can feel completely different to use. Now let's talk about visuals. This is where the graphics card comes in. This part focuses entirely on what you see. It decides how images appear, how smooth movement looks, and how detailed visuals feel. Think of it like an artist. The artist doesn't decide the idea but decides how it looks. For basic tasks like browsing, writing, or watching videos, simple graphics are enough. But for games, creative work, or video editing, this part becomes much more important. For many users, this determines whether things feel smooth or choppy, clear or blurry. What's important to understand is that none of these parts work alone. They constantly communicate. Information is stored, moved, processed, and displayed, all within fractions of a second. Different people use computers differently. Some mainly browse and write, some multitask heavily, some care about visuals. Some store huge amounts of data. That's why there's no single perfect computer. Each setup is a balance based on how someone actually uses it. So the next time you hear words like CPU, RAM, or graphics card, they won't feel intimidating. They'll feel familiar. Each part has a clear role. Each one affects your experience in a specific way. Understanding these basics makes computers feel less mysterious and more approachable. In future videos, we'll take each part and explain it even more deeply, always slowly, always clearly. For now, just notice how you use your own computer and which parts matter most for what you do. That awareness alone already puts you ahead of most people.